The most devastating part of modern warfare often involves deadly projectiles. In fact, the history of them dates right back to throwing spears. They shoot right out of the air where they used to impale you. Nowadays, they blow you out of existence, or worse. What do we mean by worse? To find out, you need to look at our rundown of 5 deadliest projectiles. Poseidon. The next generation of nuclear firepower could belong to Russia, at least according to Vladimir Putin. The Poseidon has been described as both a torpedo and a drone. It's been known about since 2015 when a top-secret document was visible to eagle-eyed press photographers. Detailing a project which back then was called Status 6, it certainly got tongues wagging. Then last year, President Putin officially announced the weapon, one of 6, named Poseidon. But how much of this is military brinkmanship and how much is reality? As recently as January this year, commentators were casting doubt on whether the Poseidon was anything more than a gimmick to frighten other nations. Is it feasible that the Status 6 document was accidentally revealed to the media? Some believe the info was too inconsistent to add up. Throw in Russia's previous boasts that turned out not to be true, and we could be looking at an elaborate game of distraction. But don't write off the Russians yet. In February this year, Mr. Putin revealed that key tests had been completed and a video of the torpedo drone in action was released. So, what do we actually know about the Poseidon? Well, for starters, it's referred to by another, more worrying name, the Tsunami Apocalypse Torpedo. Kind of rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? And one thing they'll definitely be rolling are waves. Enormous ones generated by the reported 100 megaton warhead. The Poseidon is unmanned and apparently 65 feet, 20 meters long, and 6 feet, 1.8 meters in diameter. It can travel at speeds that are rumored to be anything up to 200 miles per hour, just over 300 kilometers per hour, though others think it's more likely to be around 100, approximately 160 kilometers. If it can be officially classed as a torpedo, it's the mother of all torpedoes. Some reports state Poseidon is no less than 30 times the size of a regular projectile. In fact, it's so large that submarines have to be modified in order to cope with carrying them along. There are conflicting stories about what the weapon actually is and whether it exists at all. However, fiction or non-fiction, the details are still scary. AIM-260 JATM. Powerful missiles such as the Chinese PL-15 and Russian R-77 combine long ranges with devastating results. America, naturally, has responded to these recent developments by working on its own long-range projectile, the AIM-260 JATM. JATM stands for Joint Advanced Tactical Missile, a type of weapon that is set to take over from the AMRAAM or Advanced Medium-Range Air-to-Air Missile. These have been serving the U.S. military since the 1980s, and their defense strategy is probably long overdue for a makeover. Mind you, makeover isn't exactly the right word to use. The idea behind the AIM-260 is to compete with other countries and ultimately achieve dominance of the skies. If that can be called a makeover, then it's the most lethal one ever devised. First publicized in June this year, the projectile is being built by the Air Force, Army, and Marine Corps alongside Lockheed Martin. Tests are intended to take place over the Gulf of Mexico in 2021. Inside the nose is a DAX, Divert and Attitude Control System, which forms part of an overall system called PIFPAF. Yes, you heard that right. There sure are a lot of acronyms in this entry, but that one has to be the silliest. Put in basic terms, with DAX air, or alternatively the gas from exhaust, it is used to direct the missile. This isn't a typical way to control a missile, which generally relies on aerodynamic force to get from A to B, and C and D, etc. It's hoped the AIM-260 will emulate its competitors with a range of around 200 kilometers, 124 miles. R9X. This extraordinary projectile does everything a regular missile can do, with one important exception. Whereas military operations are often criticized on the basis of civilian casualties, which result from airstrikes on terrorists, the R9X minimizes that risk. How does it do that? To begin with, it's precise. So precise that it can only be used against 1 or 2 individual targets. A report claims it could even hit someone in the passenger seat of a vehicle without killing the driver. a high-profile death resulting from the R9X, which has been in development since around 2011 following American conflicts in the Middle East and Africa, was that of Jamel Ahmed Mohammed Ali al-Badawi, an al-Qaeda operative who was killed whilst on the road in Yemen in January this year. This was in retaliation for the USS Cole bombings of 2000, which he was suspected of arranging. He would apparently have been hit by 100 pounds of metal, 45 kilograms. But that's not all. You see, the R9X is a missile without an explosion. Unbelievably, it doesn't blow up, it pulverizes its intended victim. If that doesn't sound scary enough, wait till you hear about the blades. Yes, the R9X contains 6 long internal blades, which emerge just as the projectile is about to strike. That's what's given the missile its nickname of Ninja Bomb. These blades can cut through cars and concrete, making short work of any unlucky opponents. It's believed these casualties won't include civilians on the whole, with some thinking the White House should have mentioned the R9X earlier to demonstrate a willingness to avoid such harrowing collateral damage. While war is always going to be criticized, no matter how many deaths occur, this projectile may reassure some people that the military aren't reckless in their pursuits. Also, the R9X saves time as the target can be locked onto and killed in a tight time frame, as well as money being saved on manpower because it's a drone. Type 93 torpedo. Also called the Long Lance, Type 93 was a Japanese torpedo and represented the height of military sophistication during World War II. Developed in the late 1920s, it rose to prominence during the Pacific War conflict with the Americans. The nations were fighting for control of Guadalcanal and the Solomon Islands, a bloody battle that lasted for 6 months. It was here the U.S. found themselves on the receiving end of Type 93, which the Japanese Navy deployed in devastating night attacks. The enemy played to their strengths and exploited American weaknesses in a ruthless strategy, attacking them when the sun went down. Japan operated like clockwork and were highly trained, making a then-crude U.S. radar system ineffective against their machinations. The Long Lance was a thorn in the side of its opponents between 1933 and 45. The projectile was approximately 30 feet, 9.1 meters long, with a diameter of 61 centimeters. It carried a 480 kilogram, 1,060 pound warhead and moved at a speed of 60 miles per hour, 96 kilometers per hour. One of the most shocking things about it was the lack of warning before impact. Usually bubbles can be seen on the surface of water, but this wasn't the case with Type 93. It was propelled by oxygen, making it different to its contemporaries, which moved via steam, diesel, or electricity. The project was cutting edge, but ultimately the Americans won through. How come? They adapted and became more experienced as a result of stealthy Japanese attacks, gradually outmatching them. Also, the hardware switched focus from the sea to the air, in the shape of aircraft and aircraft carriers. No matter how great a torpedo is, it can't get near something attacking it from above. Still, it forms an impressive, if terrible, chapter in the history of missiles. Jiagang number 1. Hypersonic projectiles are seen as the way forward for world powers. In terms of missile speed, hypersonic means anything that travels over Mach 5, or 5 times the speed of sound. The significance of this is, well, it's fast. So fast that it can't be intercepted or brought down unless nations seriously up their game defense-wise. So, whenever a hypersonic vehicle of any kind is developed, it makes people nervous. This year, the Jiagang number 1 entered the fray as what people assume is research toward a new hypersonic weapon in China. The product is designed for studying purposes. Particularly, it's thought to examine the effect of sonic booms which impede the flight speed at a certain point. Experts have noted the Jiagang resembles the Hawk, an American demonstrator that gave scientists data on a potential cruise missile. Now, the Chinese might be working on a non-military vehicle here and don't necessarily intend this for defensive use. But like we said, that's what everyone is assuming. Why wouldn't they think that in fairness? Competition across the globe to develop hypersonic capabilities is fierce. The Jiagang is a reported 28.5 feet, 8.7 meters in length, and 8.2 feet, 2.5 meters wide, weighing 3.7 tons, 8,157 pounds. It appears to have a look similar to that of the ramjet or scramjet. There is room at the front of the projectile, if that's what it is, for taking in air and mixing the oxygen from behind it into burning fuel, hence generating thrust. This is how a ramjet works. Scramjets help overcome the difficulty experienced by missiles when shock waves build up and interfere with net thrust, which happens when the jet exceeds Mach 5. By taking in air at supersonic rather than subsonic speeds, as in over the speed of sound rather than under it, the issue is dealt with. China is playing its cards close to its chest, but it's a safe bet the Jiagang is powering itself that way. A reported maximum altitude of 81,000 feet, 24,689 meters, also adds to this impression as oxygen starts to disappear beyond that range. A test launch has apparently been completed in the desert of northwest China. So whatever the Jiagang is supposed to do, we'll no doubt see the results sooner rather than later. Let's hope it's not a projectile, even though it probably is, as the world will be more dangerous than ever. Whether exploding or cutting you to pieces, projectiles are versatile killing machines, and they're not going anywhere soon. Talk there could be world peace at the moment is for the birds. If you like this video, then click the subscribe button and turn on notifications, and you'll be the first to know when we release a new video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Tell me what you need, tell me what you need, tell me.